All right, so you want to know about what we should do with the Bank of Canada
and carding.
Bank of Canada, carding, and women's issues. Yeah, these are some big things affecting our country. Bank of Canada, too many different crown corporations and entities like the Bank of Canada have been removed from Canadians. They're no longer funding the average Canadian's dreams. They are not funding our future. They are being used as a tool for corporate interests, sometimes foreign corporate interest, and Stephen Harper and the Conservatives and the Liberals before them have taken those great institutes in this country and taken them further and further and further away from us. And for the Green Party, we want to take institutions like the Bank of Canada and get them working for Canadians again.
Women issue and carding?
Oh well, and we can go right into carding. Either the charter means something in this country or it doesn't. Carding is a direct violation of this charter. Yeah, is it a local Toronto issue? For sure. We've been suffering, communities have been suffering, particularly in the Black community in this city, for years and years and years, and they have been yelling and screaming about it. And now we finally got some other people listening. I know Mayor John Tory said it's got to end. Even former Liberal leader Bob Rae says this needs to end. In fact, the only two people of prominence in this city, and I use prominence lightly, who are supporting carding, say it has to stay, former Chief Bill Blair and Rob Ford. Those are the two big supporters of carding in the city.
Oh, wait, no.
Who don't work for the police.
Okay.
Who don't work for the
current
police.
chief is pretty pro-carding,
and I think
too.
that tells us all we need to know. The Ontario Ombudsman just released a huge report about what's going on in this province, whether it's London, Ontario, Hamilton, you name it. People are getting carded everywhere. Edmonton and Winnipeg, First Nations communities are getting carded. This is a civil liberties issue, and in the days of Bill C-51, we have to be talking about civil liberties because Bill Blair's track record on civil liberties, G20, carding, and now promoting Bill C-51. It's not like we're trying to scare people. The civil liberties record is there, and people are continuing to suffer.
Okay, Dan, so same questions to you.
Well, I mean, the Bank of Canada, I mean, it could so effectively be used to retake on some of our debt and make it sovereign, and then lo and behold, we'd be paying ourselves interest. One of the other parties, the Liberals, they want to extend the credit card another $30 billion, even at a 2% interest rate. That's $600 million that we're gonna have to come up with to pay for that over and above the $30 billion. And you know, any debt that we should be tacking on, we should be looking at the Bank of Canada to actually keep that debt local and take responsibility for it. On the issue of carding, I mean, my goodness, over 2 million stops in Toronto alone, and I mean, we are seeing in Peel, and we're seeing with the OPP, and we're seeing in Hamilton and other jurisdictions that the minority and racialized communities are suffering just as much in those areas from this terribly racist policy that means that people are disenfranchised in our communities. And you know, the former police chief said fear is the greatest danger, and if people are afraid of going into the public spaces, well, when you go into Warden Woods and when you go into Scarborough Village, the only thing keeping those people in their homes is fear of being stopped by the police randomly. You have moms in those communities that walk their kids to the bus stop so they won't be harassed by police. This is Canada. This isn't how it should be. And we should be standing up and defending the Charter, and we should be opposing C-51, absolutely, which you know, extends preventative arrest, which allows security services to go to a judge to get permission to contravene the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. And we have an individual right here who suffered the fate of preventative arrest, and Tommy is no terrorist.
Yes, thank you for saying so. I know my mom was very, very upset when she read that. So, yeah, it's really tragic. Civil liberties are an issue globally. Human rights are an issue globally. That Canada is usually at the forefront of criticizing a lot of places around the world. Yet we're not doing a stewardship job on our civil liberties here at home. And I know that one of the other things that you had asked was violence against women. I spent a while as a fundraiser for the Redwood Women and Family Shelter, and I became very concerned the other week when Liberal leader Justin Trudeau, when asked about violence against women, said it's certain types of music and it is absentee fathers in some communities. Those are such incredibly dangerous fallacies about what happens in terms of violence against women. It knows no socioeconomic barrier. Yes, people in low-income neighborhoods do suffer it more, but it happens everywhere. It happens to, a woman who has been assaulted. We all do. We may not know that for a fact, but you do know a woman who's been assaulted. We need to take serious action. We need a country where a woman's not afraid to go to the police to talk about what happened to her. We need to be able to take action right away for victims of violence. And we need to start realizing that the fight for women's equality in this country, we haven't won it. Yeah, are we closer than other places in the world? Sure, but if your barometer is measuring, for example, Iran, like, well, we treat women better than they do in Iran.
In Saudi Arabia.
Or in Saudi Arabia. It's like, well, is that your barometer? Is that your measuring stick? Let's be slightly better than. That's not good enough. And for Canada, that's really not good enough. And I would say for violence against women, any strategy that we take must include a specific approach for our First Nations communities. Because, as Dan said earlier in this debate, the real numbers on missing and murdered Indigenous women in this country are being hidden from us by the Conservative government. They don't want us to know this crisis. It's one of the reasons they're not here to answer questions. They're not answering questions around this entire country. It's because they have a horrendous and despicable record.
I've had classmates that have suffered from abuse at the hands of their partners. And ended up in the same women's shelter that my mom ended up in when I was a small child. When I, as a 4-year-old, hid in the closet, and her boyfriend broke the door down. And when I came out much later and found her naked on the couch with a broken collarbone, and that had nothing to do with absentee fathers. My father, who was not that person, I always have to say that, was just the most wonderful human being I could imagine. He's the reason why I'm standing where I am now today, because he was always there for me, and this was a long time ago. This was the 1980s. It's been going on for a long time, and it will continue to go on for a long time, as long as we have inequality in our society, as long as we have poverty, as long as we have a society in which women are not viewed or given equality. And I mean, let's look at our parliament. Only 1 in 4 members of parliament in Canada are women. We've kind of stalled there. It was only in this term of parliament that, we modernized to the point where we could handle women breastfeeding who are members of parliament. It's 2011, 2015 now, and this is only just happening now. I'm so proud of my NDP caucus for having a representation of 40% women. We've got 43% of our candidates in this election are women. And especially among the young parliamentarians, we elected in the last election 22 MPs under the age of 35, and 16 out of 22 of them are women. The vast majority of young parliamentarians are women, and they're going to lead our country forward in helping to bridge the gap between wage equality when women go, even today, suffering some sexual assault, and police officers ask them what they were wearing and did they ask for this. We still have a lot to fix in our society, and we just have to keep pushing, we have to keep trying, and we have to keep working. Because if you give up, then things never change.
That's right.
And on that note, dinner time.
Yeah.
Thank you for asking questions that people are failing to ask all around this country. These are things that we really need to be talking about. So
this is what
thanks,
matters.
Dion.
Yeah. And thank you guys for showing up.
Thank you.